Hi, Dustin Aremovich here with KPI. Very appreciative of you all joining our webinar today about our best practices in driving event attendance. Joe Bizignano, who is our business partner at KPI, he runs our events division. He's going to be the host today and walk through the presentation. And again, thanks so much for your time. Hope this helps you boost your own events, and we hope to have an opportunity to work with you in the future. Thanks. Joe.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. And I'd also like to thank each of you for taking the time today to attend our webinar. And we're very excited to have an opportunity to share our best practices around B2B event support. And through the execution of hundreds of webinars and in-person events, we believe we've developed and refined some very, very highly effective processes that will allow you to maximize attendance for any of your upcoming in-person sales and marketing events and webinars. So moving to the first slide, today's objective, we're going to focus on the tactics that are going to ensure that you'll consistently meet webinar and in-person attendance goals. And again, these are the tactics that have allowed us to be successful. As far as our agenda, we'll give you a brief introduction to KPI analytics. From there, we'll get into the key components of a successful program. And finally, audience Q&A. You'll have an opportunity to submit questions through the GoToWebinar control panel. So moving to the next slide, your host, myself, Joe Bizignano, VP of Event Operations. I'm also one of the co-founders at KPI. I've been in the B2B demand gen space now for over 16 years in a variety of roles, basically sales and servicing. As far as KPI analytics, we are a multi-channel marketing agency specializing in event support, obviously. Started in 2008. We break our company down into three separate divisions. One would be event support, event services. Next would be data fresh data services. And our next division would be demand or lead generation, where we generate leads at all levels of the sales funnel for our customers. As far as our track record with event support, we've probably supported over 180 webinars and in-person events over the last 24 months. In terms of the type of clients that we've been supporting, technology organizations, manufacturers, business service companies, oil and gas, and financial institutions. And as far as our success rate with event support, we're close to 100%. We're actually 98% on achieving or hitting our client attendance goals on our event programs. And from here, we're going to focus in on the keys to our success. And again, this is basically what we do to be successful at driving attendance for our customer events. So moving to the next slide, we're going to get into the components of a successful campaign. So basically, when we started back in 2008, we're primarily a telemarketing-driven lead generation firm. We executed a few programs that were focused on driving attendees to events. We basically fell flat, and we really couldn't execute because we didn't have a firm understanding of event support as a whole. And we took the spray and pray approach, basically call as many people as you can and pray we made enough connections. And after not doing very well on a few client programs, we really avoided any type of event support work and just primarily focused on developing leads through telemarketing for our customers. And then over time, as our business matured, we realized that we had the tools to effectively support events, but really we just lacked a comprehensive process. And we went back to the drawing board and we identified what we feel are the 8 fundamental components of a successful event campaign. And these components are deep event discovery, technology selection, data strategy, messaging and cadence, recruitment strategy, program monitoring and analysis, confirmation, and event follow-up and lead development. So moving to the next slide, event discovery. So from here, let's dig in. And as program discovery is really a standard practice, we want to focus in on some of the key areas of discovery that we feel are highly important. First is event timing. It seems pretty simple, but we work with plenty of organizations that regularly overlook event timing. You always want to schedule your event at an optimum time of the year that has minimal conflicts. Questions you want to ask yourself are, is my event going to conflict with industry trade shows or other events? holidays, and common vacation periods. Are there social events, political or sporting events that could create a conflict? You also want to consider the season. So weather can definitely and will have an impact on your events if you don't plan properly. And it seems pretty basic, but if you don't do your research, you can end up canceling or rescheduling your late November Boston lunch because of a blizzard. And trust me, we've seen this happen. It's also very important to think about location when planning in-person events. Did you select a remote, inconvenient location that forces your attendees to lose important working hours due to long drive times and possible traffic jams? Did you select a downtown location surrounded by perpetual construction projects that create a logistical nightmare for your targeted prospects? Another basic consideration when planning in-person events is venue appeal. You need to think about your audience and ask yourself, what would be the optimum venue for the audience in mind? And pretty much everyone likes luxury, so you want to make your attendees feel like a VIP and ensure you pick a comfortable location with a strong appeal. Another important but basic planning focus point is having a realistic expectation of event attendee turnout. You've set an attendee goal for your event, but do you truly understand how you're going to achieve that goal? And of course, you're going to need effective recruitment methods and a sound marketing database with verified or clean data. And we're going to focus on that topic later in this discussion. But you're going to need to make sure that you know your statistics. For example, say you're planning a webinar series. Just how many qualified registrants will you need to ensure that you hit your attendee goal? And after supporting over 100 webinars, we found a good rule of thumb for planning is you should expect a minimum of 30 to 35% of your registrants that are going to attend your webinar. And this also holds true for in-person day events such as lunch and learns, dinner events, and corporate location tours. Just think data center tours. And there are always exceptions to the rule, but we've experienced a much higher registrant to attendee ratio, but this is a very good baseline estimate to work with. And if you're under this ratio, it's time to go back to the drawing board. And of course, you're going to need to make sure you know your targeted audience. And it seems pretty captain obvious, but you have to build the right strategy around attracting your target audience. And who are the decision makers? Who are the influencers? Why would they want to attend your event? And do you have a strategy for attracting both? And do you target one to attract and recruit the other? And we're going to address these points in depth later in this presentation. So moving to the next slide, technology selection. So there are numerous event management platforms on the market, and just about all of our clients have something in place. So we're not going to spend too much time here. But since we work with several, there are a few points on technology selection that we'd like to share. And considering there's so many options, if you're looking for the best event management platform, you're probably going to be looking for a long time. Because what you need to do is look for a platform that best suits your needs. Some platforms are more tailored for large corporations and enterprise events, while others might have less features but are definitely much easier to use. The way to find the best event management platform is to first understand how you define event success. What are the pains that you've experienced in the past while organizing an event? What do you want to improve? What are the practices that you want to stop doing, and how could you be more efficient? So here are some key features that should help you address these questions. First, ease of use. Test drive it before buying. Get a feel for the user experience and design. While the event management software might look good on the website, the software might not be that easy to use in the real world. Definitely want an event planning platform that even a beginner can use. After all, you're not looking for stress. The point of the software is that it's supposed to make your life as an event planner easier. So to make sure that the platform is easy to use, ask the platform company for a free trial, basically maybe a week-long trial so you could give it a shot before you make your commitment. Next, customer success and support. And if you're new to event planning software, you want to make sure that your new software offers resources and guidance on how to achieve success. And make sure you have the option to chat with a real person if the need arises. Next, longevity. Consider choosing a platform that's capable of handling all of your events. Having to use an event planning platform for some events and another platform for other events, it's going to be confusing and potentially very costly. And opt for an event management solution that's scalable. Also, you're going to want to have access to cross-event data that's going to help you discover what is and isn't working. Next is going to be online trust. Do some research on the online presence of the platform that you're considering. Do they have a good number of social media followers who the company is actually interacting with? Usually that means the company has been around for a while, which is good news. What about press? Check to make sure the event software you're considering has been reviewed by multiple sources. And if you're finding it hard to find information about the company under consideration, it may be that people just don't think the platform is worthy of any attention. Next is going to be quality of features, and that's quality, not quantity. To be sure, you need a number of features in order to successfully plan an event from a single platform, but don't get too caught up in comparing the number of features included in one platform with the number of features offered by another platform. Which you should really pay attention to is the quality and the richness of each feature. What you want to do is avoid a platform that is overloaded with features, with very little functionality. Look for features that are easy to use and can actually empower you to achieve your specific event goals. So in choosing the best event management software, it's important to keep in mind that the answer to the question, what is the best platform out there, will vary depending on your specific needs. But regardless of the type of the event that you're planning, it's important that you select a platform that's easy to use, has great customer support, is compatible with multiple events, is trusted online, and has features that are actually designed to help you. Just keep these 5 tips in mind when you're selecting your platform, and you're most likely going to choose the best option for you. So moving on to the next section, database development. So here we're going to focus in on your marketing database. Ideally, you're going to have a condition opt-in database loaded with behavioral-based information such as key interest points, and think downloads, site visits, past event participation, and email engagement. This will allow you to target the right individuals with the most relevant and timely messaging. If your target contact database is lacking, you do have options. There are many data or lead vendors, but tread cautiously when buying or renting third-party data. As you should know, you're going to find yourself in hot water with your technology platform provider and the ISPs if you start marketing to contact lists loaded with honeypots, spam traps, outdated email address, or non-compliant lists. You're going to want to find a list provider that's very knowledgeable when it comes to email hygiene, email deliverability, spam laws, and opt-in and opt-out processes. They can help you build and refine your internal list by educating you on the do's and don'ts of contact database development and even possibly provide you with a condition opt-in list. You should also research syndication vendors, publishers, and social channels when building your list of possible attendees. And once you have data to work with, segmentation of your target database is vital to getting the right attendees registered for your event. And for segmentation, you want to focus on the following demographics: job title, company, industry, and location. And segmentation is key. This is going to allow you to build powerful messaging, which we're going to discuss shortly. Here at KPI, we've executed thousands of marketing campaigns over the years, and we've developed a significant opt-in database containing profiles of decision makers and influencers that contain key interest points. And we nurture many of these contacts on a quarterly basis with relative content, and on occasion, we're also going to provide offers and incentives for their opinions and insights on products, brands, purchasing trends. This allows us to deliver relative and timely content, and it's going to limit the number of opt-outs. We also run our data through a validation test on a regular basis so we can extract bad addresses, spam traps, and troublesome domains. And continuous data management has been one of the key drivers to our event success. So moving to the next slide, messaging and cadence. While promoting your event, you want to remember to educate versus advertise. Regardless of your promotion methods, make education a key driver for your event promotion messaging. And remember, you're going to educate, not give the prospect a sales pitch. It's very important to build messaging that is extremely relevant to your target audience. As we discussed earlier, database segmentation and persona building are key here. If you understand your audience and know who they are, you can develop relevant messaging for your event promotions. Another key strategy when developing your messaging is the testing of different marketing messages. Test a variety of different messages to segments of your target database before pushing it out to your entire audience. And think, will your audience respond better to messages that include giveaways, practice sessions, or maybe product training? And when considering your marketing cadence or how often you should touch your target audience and how, you need to consider the type of event that you're marketing. The concept's pretty simple. For larger events such as trade shows, it's not a bad idea to start promotions maybe 4 to 5 months out, in some cases even further. For local events and webinars, starting your marketing cadence or promotion around 4 to 5 weeks is usually a good practice. We're going to be discussing types of event promotion next, but regardless of the methods that you plan on using, be sure to focus your messaging on what your audience is going to learn, use different messages, and start your promotions at the right time. Moving to the next slide, attendee recruitment. Here are the techniques that we found to be highly effective in promoting client events. First, telemarketing. Telemarketing is an excellent way to drive attendees to your upcoming events. And as I mentioned, we have successfully supported hundreds of events, and telemarketing, it's really one of the main components to our success. In order to be successful, you're going to make sure that your marketing list is in order. And ideally, you've developed a persona matrix so you can develop messaging that's highly relevant to your target titles and applicable to your target industries. You want to make sure that your telemarketing team is seasoned and they don't have to read from a script. You want to make sure they're highly familiar with the event topic, product, services, why it should be of interest to your prospect. They need to be familiar with the agenda, timing, venue, location, to the point where they can help with directions, parking options, even the menu if food's being served. You'd be surprised how many times people have asked, are there vegetarian or gluten-free options? You gain a lot of credibility when you have this information when you're talking to the prospect on the phone. And also, our telemarketing staff, they'll even engage the interest level of the registrant. Are they somewhat interested, or highly interested? This is very important when forecasting your registrant to attendee ratios. Again, your telemarketing team should act like concierge, not script readers. The next, email blasts and newsletters. Another great way to gain exposure for your event is to promote it in your company newsletter and drive through email blasts. Your clients and prospects, they're often the audience that's most interested in the content that you have to offer, so newsletters are a great recruitment mechanism. Email blasts are also an excellent way to recruit for your upcoming event, but as I mentioned earlier, clean data is extremely important. And make sure you make it clear in your email that your audience is going to gain something or learn something and not sit through the sales pitch. The next, share through social outlets. It's important that you share details about your upcoming event on all the social sites that you, your prospects, and your clients engage on. Next would be guest posts from the speaker. And guest posts are a great way to get new visitors and a new audience to your site. Have your speaker write a blog post to introduce the event topic and include a few points that are going to be discussed further during the event. And make sure that the post has a strong, obvious call to action and encourage your speaker to promote among their network. Next, create hashtags. This is a great way to build excitement among attendees and to encourage discussion around the upcoming event. And remember, you have limited real estate when it comes to tweeting, so keep hashtags short to make it easier for others to tweet and retweet. Next, promote in applicable LinkedIn groups. Promoting your event among applicable LinkedIn groups introduces you to an audience that already has an interest in your topic, and they're probably anxious to learn more. Targeted promotions like this can often drive more qualified traffic to your registration landing page. And speaking of landing pages, make sure they're succinct and they're very easy to register for your event. That is definitely key. Next, add to email signatures. It's usually fairly common to promote a webinar via email, as we discussed earlier. Most people don't realize how powerful the email signature line can be. If you're interfaced with your clients, prospects, or industry folk, consider adding a call to action to your signature line to encourage the webinar registration. Next, encourage your sales team to promote to prospects and customers. Your reps normally have a good idea of what their prospects and customers are interested in. Whenever you have any events on the horizon, just send a quick email to the sales team and have them contact any prospects or customers who they think would have some level of interest in your event. Next, send pre-written tweets to partners. When it comes to event promotion, take advantage of your partner or affiliate networks. Compose pre-written tweets to send your partners so that promoting your event involves minimal effort on their part. Next, use your social images. You could change your social profile images like your Twitter, Facebook, and Google cover images to advertise your upcoming event. When someone visits your social sites, it's going to be a hard way for them to miss the event invitation. So moving to the next slide, monitor and measure. Just like any other marketing campaign, it's highly important to monitor your event recruitment efforts on a daily basis. Event dates come up fast, so understanding what's working, what's not, is critical to the success of your campaign. Is your target audience responding to your messaging? What are your open and click-through rates? Are they downloading information? Is your target audience expressing a sincere interest when speaking with your telemarketing reps? Is there a significant amount of activity within your social channels? And be prepared to change up content or educational points to keep your audience educated and engaged. Another important part of the process is gauging the level of interest of your prospects. Are they very likely to attend, or unlikely to attend? You can really gauge their level of interest by their level of engagement. Have they given a firm confirmation? Are they reading your emails? Have they downloaded content? Are they asking questions? Are they inviting other members of their team? If indicators show a large number of your registrants fall into the likely and very unlikely categories, you're going to have to adjust your registrant to attendee ratio and amp up your recruitment efforts. So moving to the next slide, confirmation. Confirm, confirm, and one more time, confirm. Executing a strong confirmation process is one of the most important components of your campaign. Your registrant should have received a confirmation immediately after the registration. At least 1 to 2 pieces of nurturing or educational content prior to the event, a verbal confirmation 2 to 4 days prior to the event, and at least 1 email confirmation the day before. It's even a good practice to have a morning of reminder email. And in the case of a webinar, you should create an email letting your registrant know the event will be starting in 15 minutes and you need to include the login link. So moving to the next slide, event follow-up and lead development. So after an event, you're going to need to send follow-up emails as soon as possible. And you should follow up with event attendees and people who registered but didn't attend. And the messaging for attendees and individuals, it should be slightly different. There's going to be some similarities in the messages, but there's some differences that will make each one more effective. And here's how to set that up. So what you want to include in both messages or both emails. And when it comes to webinars or in-person events, you know, many people want to see the slides or a recording of the event or of the webinar. If they attended, this gives them a good recap and another chance to take notes. If they didn't attend, allows them to see what they missed. And for you, it gives you an opportunity to generate more sales or whatever your call to action may have been. And that include links to any relevant content or resources on your website, your social media handles, and of course the call to action with some built-in urgency. And also, if there are any, if there's a special offer, I would limit the amount of time that the offer is going to be available. And now when you follow up with the attendees for this email, thank the attendees for participating and provide any promised follow-up material. Also include a call to action for your offering landing page if that's applicable. And here's what you should put in the email. You should thank them for attending, provide a quick recap of what's covered, a link to the recording, and repeat the call to action with relevant offer deadlines. And you may also want to include additional resources if available. Any promised follow-up material, the social media handles, and then again, registration links for your next webinar or installment. And in terms of following up with non-attendees, for this email, I'd explain that you missed seeing them. Again, provide a link to the webinar recording. If you have a future event or webinar with the same or related content, maybe you want to promote that instead or in addition. And here's what you want to put in the actual email. Again, a quick note to say you're sorry that they missed it, a recap of what they missed, a link to the recording, and a summary of the call to action or any bonuses. You may also want to include in the email additional resources if it's relevant or if they're available, and your social media handles for connecting or sharing, and then registration links for your next webinar or event. We covered attendees and those who registered but didn't attend. So what about the people on your list who never registered at all? In some cases, you may want to send an email to your list at large, and it's basically giving you a second chance to reach those. Maybe they slipped through the cracks. And you can let your list know what you covered, how well the event was received, and give them an opportunity to check it out for themselves. So just remember, your work doesn't end when the event is over, and to make it a success, again, strong follow-up is critical. So this concludes today's webinar. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for their time. And now we're going to open it up to questions, and you can submit your questions through the GoToWebinar control panel. All right, so if you can give us 1 second, we're going to pull down some of the questions asked by the audience. So actually, here's the first question. Out of all the tactics that you use for driving attendees, what do you think are the most productive? So I'd have to say telemarketing and email blasts have been the primary drivers for our success. We've got a solid database that's been conditioned over time. We have a group of telemarketers who specializing in driving attendees to events. That's all they pretty much do. They're experts in supporting events. They're very thorough when discussing event topics, excellent at building rapport with the prospects, and they know how to determine the likelihood of attendance. So as I mentioned in the presentation, as they're registering somebody, they put in notes, are they likely to attend, very likely to attend, or unlikely to attend. So again, this is key in determining what your attendance ratios are going to be. So the next question is, do you think there's some overkill in your confirmation process? So, possibly, but what we're doing, it definitely works. And we rarely receive complaints from registrants or attendees about being contacted too many times. So, it seems like it's a little bit overkill, but, again, it's working. And when I was saying before that if we look in our notes and see that the majority of the attendees are likely or very likely to attend, then we may back off on the number of touch points in the registration process. So the next is talking about events in general, right? Exactly what type of KPI events KPI is supported, and it's across the board. We've done quite a bit of webinars, lots and lots of daytime events that would include breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then some industry events, trade shows, paid events, so it's really across the board. Next question, what should we avoid, or what should anyone avoid when running an event? And I think it's a good question. And I'd say strictly, relying on a single tactic, such as relying on your sales team to drive attendees. It's really one of the main reasons why customers come to KPI for assistance. They just don't put too much thought into the recruitment aspect. So make sure you have a multi-touch point strategy. That's key. And next question, what type of events do we think are the best? It really depends. So webinars are pretty economical if you have a horizontal focus, but the face-to-face interaction with in-person events is key. And you also have to consider what your objectives are and your available budget. So the next question, we mentioned that we have a near perfect track record with event support, specifically driving attendees, and what exactly does that mean? So again, another good question. If a client says they want 50 people to show up to the event, we're going to tell them what we feel is realistic, so we can help gauge the true number where we think the client will hit in terms of attendance. And basically whatever the number that we give you, we'll guarantee that number. So like I said, if a customer says if they want 50, 100, we understand the metrics and the mechanics that are required to drive that number. So another question is, do we provide offers or incentives to drive attendees, and what works best? So yeah, absolutely. Everybody that attended this webinar, you're going to get a $5 Starbucks card. That was part of the promotion. But keep in mind, when we're targeting individuals, we have a segmented database. So we're talking to people that you want to speak with. So providing a $5 Starbucks card is definitely worth the investment. And in terms, events, in-person events, many times we offer travel or parking reimbursements, if applicable. It's not the silver bullet for attendees, but they definitely appreciate it because there are costs involved with travel. And next question is for local in-person events. What do we recommend? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? I'd say probably lunch right now because lunch sounds good because I'm pretty hungry. But kidding aside, I would say lunchtime is the best because what we do with our customers is when they want to run a lunchtime event, we'll do a demographic study to determine how many prospects or customers are in a 5 to 10 mile radius. Where it's to determine if it's realistic, if they're going to be able to drive for lunch. But lunch is good because you're not really competing with personal time, and it's not hard to get colleagues to come along. So there's some logistical issues sometimes in the morning, and then sometimes at the end of the day, people just want to get home. But we've been successful with breakfast and evening events as well. But I would say your lunchtime event is probably your best bet. So that wraps up the questions. If anybody else has any additional questions, feel free to email. You've got our contact information. But again, we thank you for your time today. And then we're going to be reaching out to you individually to provide a recording of this webinar and to see if you have any additional questions. So again, thanks for your time, and we look forward to connecting. Thank you.